Good morning from Big Sky Country. I'm Stacy, owner of Montana Used Bricks, and today I'm going to do a video on identifying Lego parts for your Bricklink inventory. As I say in nearly every episode, this is just how I do it. It's to give you some ideas on what you can do to identify parts. As always, everybody has their own way of doing things. This is just the way I do it. But before we get started on that, I did want to take a moment and thank everybody who's subscribed to my channel. A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I was like one subscriber away from 500. I'm now over 500, so thank you for subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it. As always, I appreciate it when you take the time to give it a thumbs up, and especially when you take time to comment on the videos. I really enjoy reading the comments. I get behind on them and I don't always get a chance to reply to them, but please keep in mind I do read them. And I also want to thank a couple of people who have taken the time to send me messages through Bricklink or email. I really enjoy reading those messages, and it really does help me to continue to do this, because when I'm recording, I'm in a 20 by 20 shop all by myself, so I feel like I'm talking to myself. So it's good to know that people are actually watching the videos. So I'm going to change up the angle a little bit. I wanted to use my screen capturing software for this, but I've had issues with that in the past. So I'm going to try to set the camera up so that you can see the screen and I can explain how I identify the parts. So let's get to it. To identify the parts, when I sort by category. And I do this for several reasons. One, it's the way I've always done it. And two, it's easier when I come into a brick store when I'm going to be adding parts to inventory. I generally will sort them from the largest down to the smallest part. So for instance, with the bricks, I would sort out the larger bricks first, and then I would filter by description, basically in descending order right here, because it's going to show the size in the description. So I will be able to just look at the picture and know what part that is. Bricks are really easy, obviously, because you're just counting studs. They're easy to identify. It's easy to read the part number on the back side. So these are pretty easy. But as I said, when I sort, I do it that way. So when I get into the more elaborate pieces, such as hinges, I will do it the same way, where I will do the description down. I'll sort the parts by size again, and then I will just go down this list and add them as I see them. A lot of this is just knowing what the parts are, which just takes time. If you do it enough, you start to learn what the parts are called. You know whether they're a hinge, whether they're a hinge tile or a hinge plate or a hinge cylinder. You just start to learn after a while of doing it. And this is probably the easiest way to learn what some of these parts are, because you can look to see the pictures of them. If you don't want to get to the category level, you can come up to all items and just put in the part number. With some parts that I don't get in my store very often or I'm not familiar with, I will look for the part number on that particular part. And what I will do is I will use my magnifying glass, which is this one here. I really like this one, and I'll try to find it on Amazon and leave the link in the description below. But I like this one because this one has a light on it, which helps you be able to bring out the number a little bit more than just a regular magnifying glass. But I use this a lot. This is always right by my computer so that I can grab it and look to see what a part number is. And both my husband and I have one of these, and we use these a lot. The other one that we've used quite a bit is the digital microscope here. And I found out about this from Brick Slayer's YouTube video. He was talking about using this. Both my husband and I have one of these. He uses this a lot more than I do, because he uses it to look at the numbers inside of like the hair and hats that he's not familiar with. And I'll give you a sample of how that works here in just a second. As I've said before, my husband uses this microscope for hair and hats and that sort of thing because it's so small. And with the magnifying glass, even though it's got the light, you have to hit the light on it just right in order to be able to read the number sometimes. If it's a small part or a part that is just unique, it's hard to get the angle right to be able to read the number even with the light. This digital microscope makes it so much easier to see the part number. So I have this part here, which is kind of an unusual part. Not sure what it is, whether it's Bionicle, Hero Factory, large figure, and the part number is down inside there, and it's hard to read it with the magnifying glass because I can't get the light just right on it. I can use my digital microscope, bring it over, and just set it in there, and you can see how clear that number comes up. And it makes it really easy to look up numbers this way. So that's an example of one of those. So here's another part that all I do is slide it under and I can immediately read the number. I don't have to stress or strain or look at it sideways or try to get the magnifying glass just right. It just pops right up. So I really do like having this digital microscope, and I'll leave a link for that down below as well. The other thing that can be difficult looking up are patterned or stickered parts, such as this one here. This yellow 2x4 brick has a nose and I believe teeth on it. And if it's one that I'm not familiar with, I will go over to Bricklink, and what I will do is I will type in to all items, I will put yellow brick 2x4 with pattern. This will bring it down to a list of the parts that I'm looking for, making it a little bit easier to find it because right there it is. So I'll be able to look at the picture and look at my part, and I can tell that that's the part that I'm looking for. For stickered parts, you would do the same thing, but instead of pattern, because right now if you put in pattern, it's going to bring up the pattern and the stickered parts. If you want to get this down to just the parts with stickers, you would say with sticker and enter, and you'll see that it brought it down to just 13 parts, and these are the ones that have actual stickers on them. That's the easiest way we've found to look for pattern and stickered parts. So if you have a part similar to this one, which I didn't know what it was, I hadn't seen it before, and as far as we can tell, there's no number on it. We looked at it with both the magnifying glass and the digital microscope, and we couldn't find a part number for it. So my husband went in. We know that this part right here is glow in the dark. You know, we did the little test of putting it in the light and putting it in the dark, and it glows in the dark. So we were able to look it up by color in the Bricklink catalog. The other thing you can do is, if you're not sure and you just really don't have the time to look it up in the catalog or to search 100,000 parts to find what you're looking for, the other thing you can do is you can take a picture of this, make sure it's really clear. Generally, you want to take a picture on a plate so they can see how big it is. Maybe several pictures, maybe try to get one from the top and the bottom so that people can see exactly what it looks like. Post that either on the Bricklink forums or on the Facebook Bricklink page. Just say, hey, what is this? Is this Lego? What's the part number? Is it Hero Factory Bionicle? And people will get back to you and let you know what it is. I have done this many times, and I've never been disappointed in how quick people respond on the Bricklink forums to my question about is it Lego or not, or if it is Lego, what's the part number? Shit. I feel like I'm all over the place with this video, but that's only because there are so many different ways to identify Lego parts. A lot of it is just repetition. When you do it enough times, you at least know whether it's a hinge, a tile, modified plate, modified brick. and it makes it so much easier to be able to go into either Brickstore or Bricklink to look up the part. You can always look for the part number. I would say that 95% of the parts have a part number. If you're doing used parts, especially older used parts, they may not have part numbers. A lot of times they still say patent pending on the part. So those are a little bit harder, but you can go into Bricklink, and if you know it's a vehicle part, you can put red vehicle, and that will just bring up the red vehicle parts, and you should be able to narrow down your search. If you identify parts in a way that I haven't gone over, if you could put that in the comments below, I'd really appreciate it. I would love to hear how you identify parts. Is there a specific way that you do it? Do you use Brickstore? Do you use Bricklink? Do you use some other website? Because I do know there's quite a few websites out there for like torsos and legs and that sort of thing. And I didn't go too much in the torso and legs thing because, again, that's stuff my husband does. But torsos are pretty much the same thing. You're going to want to go in and say, I'm looking for a blue torso with green arms and yellow hands. And that will at least narrow down your search. Sometimes you can recognize something on the torso, a specific color. So you could go in and put in, for a torso, you could put blue torso with medium blue sash, something to that effect to kind of narrow down your search. Bricklink isn't always easy to search with. A lot of times it'll bring up everything, and it's a little harder to narrow down your search. But after a while, you start to learn how to narrow down your search using the Bricklink catalog. So like I said, go ahead and put your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up. If you really liked it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.